Welcome to Brain. This week we're going to be talking about Gemini's bananas, neckbeard developers that are losing their jobs, the claws of automation, and Kuaishou dropped Ling 3. Let's go.
That was awesome. Okay,
That's so dumb.
Dave.
Yes.
Today we are here because between the two of us, we have better reasons to analyze interesting news.
Oh, yeah. We do.
know?
We do have
Better reasons.
We're running low on acronyms. Put your acronym in the comments.
Yeah, put your acronym in the comments. We are flat out of acronyms now.
Yeah.
I don't know what we're gonna do if there's like a next season. It's like, okay.
Yeah.
Yep. What are we gonna
Actually,
talk
you know what
about?
I was thinking about today on the way here? I was thinking that we do need to change the name because we only have a word that describes me, but nothing that describes you.
Yeah. I mean, leave your note in the comments about what Dave just said to me on this
Friendship.
very public
Friendship.
friendship.
So we're going to start off talking about Anthropic. Everybody's talking about it. There's been just the whole last week was back and forth posts. And there was a deadline on Friday as of 5 p.m. for a decision to be made by Anthropic. But what the main issue is that we've talked a lot about Anthropic and their do-gooder
Yeah, they're
mentality.
like the nice guys of AI.
Yeah, why they left OpenAI to start Anthropic.
Go watch the last show to kind of hear about the history. There's like a history there.
There's a lot of history about like how they left, when they left,
why they left.
who they took with them, the whole feud that came after that.
Yep.
And so safety was like always a foundational element in Anthropic. Now Claude has gotten so good that they're being used for a lot of military applications by the Department of War in the United States. And I guess when it really came public was during the capture of the Venezuelan president, and it came out that Claude was used in there somehow. I think the details are a little sketchy. I don't know if they just used it for
I think
translation, but
Yeah.
they it came out that it had been used, and Dario Amadeo was like, "Hey, we don't want to really be involved in killing people with our technology," and that started kind of a week-long discussion now of the Department of War saying, "Well, you must allow us to use your tools, and you must remove the safety guardrails." To which Dario Amadeo responded, "Wow, we don't really want you to be surveilling civilians and using our technology to decide whether somebody lives or dies."
I think that's the crux of the actual issue is that real human lives are at stake, and it would effectively be in the hands of an AI to make those decisions, and that would be it could obviously the consequences are terrifying of that kind of decision making. So.
Yeah. Now they could be forced into a position as being a supply chain risk. That discussion, that clause was used like during COVID to force factories to produce ventilators. It was used during the California wildfires to force manufacturers to make fire hoses.
Yeah.
So now the idea is that it could be used to force Anthropic to remove these safety guardrails. That might be where we end up. It feels kind of like a really thin line or a really stretching that power.
The power,
or
yeah.
and the intent for the power.
Yeah.
But it would result in the Department of War getting what they want, and Anthropic being able to say, we had no choice.
Right. But also there is an arms race going on between the West and China about the use of powerful AI for all the things. It seems like the issue conceptually in the US and the West in general is are we going to use this very powerful tool, these very powerful tools, to advance our way through to the lead in AI? And how much do you use it to get that lead? And how much lead do you need? And then, there's all kinds of consequences in an arms race for like the most powerful invention in human history, arguably. So, it's a very strange time to be alive, for sure.
Well, that's very, very exciting. Usually we start off with very happy, cheery stuff. But that's kind of the latest. Now, this episode is going to come out on Monday, and we don't know yet what will happen.
That's right. It hasn't been decided.
When the deadline hits, and we don't know. But we're going to find out. So
I'm going to prognosticate that the U.S. government's going to get their way.
They tend to do that.
That's what I'm going to say.
All right. Now, there were a whole bunch of other big releases, though, that came out huge over the last couple of weeks.
Huge release. I mean, I like how they just add an increment of like a .1. And yet, to me, it's like one of their biggest releases updating this model. So Gemini 3.1 Pro was released. It tops 13 of the 16 benchmarks, and they're not charging more for it. It's the same price as the previous model, and it is quite great. Now, we say great. We were having this discussion earlier. A great now is a factor of a few percentage points better in a SWE benchmark. Like so it's like
now, some of them. Like, of course, this is Gemini 3.1 Pro that came out.
Yes,
some of them were really good improvements. Like one of the biggest ones was the ARC-AGI 2. So compared to Gemini 3 Pro's performance, they more than doubled the result. So 77.1% versus 31.1% in a minor version update.
Yes, exactly. That particular test is also made to prevent AI from cheating.
Right.
So I believe what they do is they randomize the tests so they can't kind of like jimmy their way through or get the answers right in one pass and and like train itself. It's like it's made to be unbreakable by AI.
Yeah.
So the fact that it got that
77, and then compared to Opus 4.6, Opus 4.6 scored 68.8.
Yeah. So
it's also quite a good leap ahead of them. Some of them were a little closer. It's the SWE bench coding scoring, where Opus 4.6 is 80.8, 3.1 Pro was 80.6. So just about there. An improvement over 3.0 Pro. But a lot of them are really close.
Yeah, I think that's where the battle is right now. If you're a Google shop, like there are a lot of shops that are like Google Work, Google for Work, Google Workplace, Google for Charities. Like there are shops that are in doing development and work in general that are all invested on the Google side, Google GCP, like everything. So and you have a subscription there, and a lot of the AI is baked into the cost of the subscription. So for a lot of people, this is actually the most affordable AI they're going to get, and it's really powerful. So yeah, awesome. And
and then along the lines, like on the back of that, they released their Banana 2 version 2. Yes. So Nano Banana 2.
You played with it a little bit.
I played with their Banana a little bit. Now the official name is Gemini 3.1 Flash Image.
Yeah. Officially.
Yeah, affectionately known as Nano Banana 2. It's kind of the normal faster flash level speed and responsiveness. It felt the same to me.
Yep.
Integrated real-world knowledge using web search, language modeling, high-quality text rendering, and localization. Text has gotten a lot better.
A lot better.
Very like a year ago, you tried to make something with text, and it was like all these like pieces of letters kind of stuck together randomly. And I think that's AI because that's not a language. Well, now that's a lot better. Improved control over resolutions. So a lot of times it was like, here's your image. That's the resolution I've decided. And then it took a while till you could even say, I want a portrait image.
That's right. Or it needs to be 16:9 or whatever. You know what I mean? Like the ratio. Yeah.
So now you can specify much more detail around the resolution of the image that you want. And there's a pretty broad integration. Gemini, Google Search AI mode, AI Studio, the API through the cloud services. So I did a comparison here. So I regenerated one of the images that I used for a thumbnail for a recent short that we did about D&D.
Yeah.
So we can show it here. I have this. So I gave it a picture of the Neo robot. I said, put him at a table of D&D staff, throw in some dice.
Yeah.
And add this title. So I did that. It's all D6. There's stacks of cards, which I know we've used cards sometimes, but it's not a major component of the game. And it's got this weird pentagram in the back corner.
Yeah, I saw that.
I wasn't sure why. Whose mom told Gemini Nano Banana? It's like, that's the devil's game. Yeah. So it stuck a pentagram in the back.
on the wall. Yeah.
And Neo doesn't look like Neo at all. So I followed up with a new prompt and I said, remove the logo, remove the cards, remove the logo, replace the dice with a D20.
Add this robot.
And fix the robot. I said, just fix it. I gave you an image of it. Like, why does he look like a Silver Surfer? Or like, anyway, what's that movie? With
Silver Surfer.
Yeah, okay. So here's what it gave. It replaced the cards with some little coin purses. It got rid of the player's handbook and replaced it with a character sheet, which I guess that's okay.
Yeah.
Kept the pentagram, screwed up the robot even more, but it did do the D20. So kind of did okay.
Yeah.
No, I went, but not perfect.
But if you zoom in, Dave.
No, so this is the other one. So I'll show you we have this kind of standardized, very scientific test where I ask it to draw a dog fetching a ball out of the water.
Right.
And so I threw in the magic words between the prompts, start again, which usually starts it to forget everything that it's been doing.
Right.
And
it's like clearing the cache.
Yeah, and it makes a new image. And that's worked really well for me when I'm producing a ton of thumbnails. So I asked it, so it gave me this image. It added the title, The Wild Fetch, as if I was making a movie poster about this dog. It gave me a golden retriever, which it always does.
Yeah.
It's holding a ball in its mouth. You can see there's this...
it still thinks you're making a shorts thumbnail is what it thinks you're doing.
That's right. Yeah. It didn't forget the instructions well enough. It replaced the pentagram with a compass that looks kind of demon-y in the corner there. If you look on the dock, it put a little leather coin purse from D&D
for the
in
dog's
there.
adventure that it will go on.
Yeah. And then at the way in the back corner, if you zoom in, you can see there's a dragon attacking a castle in the background. So clearly, its mind was still on D&D.
Dungeons and Dragons. Yeah,
I did start a new chat and I generated.
You distracted it with a D&D game, which is common.
Yeah.
And then it couldn't just see the way clearly.
No, it's my mistake. So then I regenerated the image with this guy here. Again, a golden retriever carrying a tennis ball. This time an orange tennis ball. Last time it was red. It's very interesting. If you go and test a bunch of these models and you just say, draw me a dog, it's a golden retriever.
Yeah, golden retriever almost every time.
Every single time.
Yeah.
You don't say what kind of dog? Golden retriever. I thought it was probably one of the better ones that has been created. The water looked realistic, much more realistic than others. The splash pattern is a bit more natural. There's no water dropping from the dog's face, which the other ones had. And the shadows and lighting reflections all look pretty good. So,
I mean, it is very impressive, but I don't know that it's that different from Nano Banana.
I agree.
The previous version, yeah.
Yeah, and I actually found that it kept in some mistakes that the previous version didn't.
Right.
So maybe it's going to take some time to just play with it and figure out kind of what are the tricks to get it to forget its memories and start again.
And then as part of this, like a big Openclaw thing that's gone on in the last few weeks, we've seen Google do something interesting.
Yeah. So they discovered that tons of Openclaw users were just beating the heck out of anti-gravity and using just
it's so
buckets
good.
of tokens.
Like anti-gravity is good, Openclaw is good, put together, man.
Yeah, so they said all these people are violating the terms of use by using an agent to do the work.
Right.
And so they've been clamping down, disabling people's accounts and shutting off access and all that. Now, I think if I made a tool where people paid by the amount they used it, and people started giving bots
Access to it, unlimited access to it.
Just pure access to my paid tokens. Like I would love that.
Yeah.
Please use them up faster. And
what's fascinating about the whole Openclaw world of agentic tooling on a computer is that it's like whatever tool is there on that computer, you can make available to an agent to look at. So really you have like agents directing agents, but it's in effect sovereign. You know what I mean? Like you're fully in control of this autonomous agent. You can pull the plug at any point, which is interesting, but also like we don't know what it means when people are at work all day and then at home they have this machine that is also working for them all day, and the tools are now really good for doing that. I like anti-gravity is an incredible tool. I use it now as my kind of sole IDE for coding.
Yeah.
And I can see why people would do this. Like this is a good idea. I want to do this now. I want to.
Yeah, if you're looking for a way to get your Google account banned and lose everything you've worked for, that's a great way to do it. If you think it's a good idea to open up anti-gravity for agentic use, or if you're opposed to that and think that's ridiculous, this is a human's tool, let us know what you think in the comments. And if you've watched this far, go ahead and throw us a like and a subscribe.
Yes.
So that you get notified when we go live next.
Correct. Do it.
Now, in terms of IDEs, OpenAI just launched a new tool that they've called Codex. I knew it was like such a simple name, like you're gonna forget. It's just called Codex, and it's only available on Mac. It's not quite an IDE, but it's following their trend of focusing on chat. The initial install process is a lot like Cursor, and you select your product folder where all your files are or are going to be. It can run commands in your terminal.
Yep.
It can do git pushes and pulls and commits, and it does everything
that
more or less that Cursor does.
Yeah,
but it's only a chat window, and it's the whole spot. So you have a chat, like conversation history on the left, and a chat in the center, just like ChatGPT. And it's just for building stuff. And so I dropped in an old folder of a project that I started, bought a domain for, never finished. And I said, please look at this project and
Bring it to completion.
what you think it does.
Right.
First of all, look at it and tell me what it does so that before I ask you to do something, I know that you know
right.
what it's supposed to do. And so I read through it. It was very accurate. And then it said, it looks like these would be the next steps to complete this project. I was like, ooh, I didn't even think of that. It's actually very helpful. And, but I asked it, like, start up a local server so that I can browse it.
Yeah.
It did that. The terminal conversations actually pop up in the chat as it's going up.
Okay.
So like pops up a little window. It does all of its commands, and then it just stays as part of the chat and floats up.
Okay, that's cool.
Into the history.
So you do get some you do get exposed to what it's doing on your system.
Yeah.
See, I haven't played with it yet.
But you cannot see the code.
Okay.
That it's producing. I have a little screenshot just so you can see kind of what the interface looks like.
Yep.
You can't see the code. You can't see the file structure.
Okay.
It's literally just chat and build something and go and preview it.
Interesting.
In the top right corner, there's a button, like an open with button.
Yep.
And you can choose anti-gravity, cursor, terminal, finder to go and view it more in depth if you want.
Okay.
But the default usage is just, I'm going to tell it and it's going to build it.
Fascinating.
Yeah.
I mean, do you think it's gonna do well?
Well, it's an interesting release in that it's only Mac.
Yeah.
Which I don't know. You're immediately limiting who can access it.
Yep.
It feels like a competitor for something like Replit.
Right.
Where you don't really need to know what you're doing. You can just go on and say, I want to build a thing, and it just builds it for you.
Yeah.
But with limited access.
Yep.
I guess being a native app, it's faster.
Right.
Like it is very fast.
Okay.
It can run your terminal. It can access files. It's probably maybe a little safer because it's on your machine. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know that your home network's any more secure than Replit servers.
For sure.
It can't be. It can't be.
Can't possibly be, actually.
No,
Come to think of it.
yeah, there's no way. So I don't know. It feels like a very interesting release that I don't think is going to have massive buy-in, but it's kind of a neat tool.
Yeah, it looks cool. There's a Codex kind of tab inside of the ChatGPT website where you click on the top thing and you click Codex and it switches to a coding IDE view, but it's not a native app.
Yeah.
So it's like they have a web version and they have the desktop version.
Yeah.
Kind of like Claude has the web version and they have their desktop version.
I haven't used the web version of Codex.
Yeah.
So maybe it's
I think it's the same, honestly, the way you're describing it, because I haven't used the desktop version.
Yeah.
I think it's the same.
Well, we know what our homework is for this week.
Let's just switch.
Compare.
Switch roles.
Now, in terms of using tools for development, there was a really interesting post that came out from the Spotify. I think he's a co-CEO. And he said this in the Q4 earnings call. So I think that happened in January. But he said the best developers we have. He says, when I speak to the most senior engineers, the best developers we have, they actually say that they haven't written a single line of code since December because they're using. It says they only generate code and supervise it, which I think is really interesting. I mean, I can't imagine. Your boss goes in. So how's that coding thing going that we hired you to do? Like, you know what? I haven't touched it.
I don't even do that
since
anymore.
December. I've been watching it be done.
Yeah.
But I'm not doing it.
I'm basically an observer.
Along for the ride.
Just a bag of popcorn.
Yeah.
No. That way.
Yeah. Just vibe coding on sitting on the floor of his living room with a coffee table and his computer.
I mean, I didn't cover it here, but we should have talked about the fact that Block just Jack Dorsey's company just released 4,000 people from work in their blockchain company, and it's a cryptocurrency company. Anyways, that's a fascinating Are we seeing the beginning of knowledge work kind of going away? And this is an indicator of that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Right. So the Spotify, I think it is very interesting that their best developers are actually not writing code.
Yeah.
They are literally just checking the code.
Yeah. And a big piece of it is actually a feature that Claude released, which is their remote control.
Right.
So it's really
that's the app.
Yeah. Little app, so you can actually text with your. It's not texting; it's an app that communicates with Claude. It's a way more secure tunnel.
Full disclosure: Replit app on the phone is my favorite way of doing getting productive work done when I'm not at my desktop. It is so powerful to be able to have a little tool that you can say, "Oh, check this out, do this thing." And just work in the background.
Yeah.
But so I can see why everyone is releasing these remote controls. You know what I mean?
Yeah. The CEO said an engineer at Spotify on their morning commute from Slack on their cell phone can tell Claude to fix a bud. Fix your buds. Fix your bugs or add a new feature. Once Claude finishes the work, the engineer gets a new version of the app pushed to them on Slack so that he or she, I suppose, can manage, they can merge it to production all before they even arrive to the office.
Yeah. These are totally new paradigms, totally new work paradigms. I'm think about how much time we have commuted in our career time.
No, I don't want to.
I want to think about it just for a second.
Yeah.
Okay. I want to say I've spent probably months, if not years, of hours in either car or train.
Yeah, I this was a big enlightening moment to me just about a month or so ago that I was spending 48 work days per year commuting. Imagine you had an extra 2 months of work days to get stuff done every year. 2 months a year.
Oh gosh.
So
this is this shift in being able to do work remotely like this, where it's actual productive work and you are doing the things.
Yeah.
It just makes you feel incredibly good to get things done in the space where you're not used to getting things done.
Yeah.
The big news is that because of these new paradigms, we have old paradigms that are quickly going to die, like the fact that Anthropic said that their AI can fix COBOL issues and modernize it into new code. And IBM is basically their stock price tanked because of this pronouncement.
Do you have the percentage was like 15% or something? Like on IBM?
Yeah.
Like we're that's talking crazy.
Yeah.
And the reason for it is that so many legacy banking systems and government systems still run on IBM mainframes running COBOL.
Yes.
And so all these so not only IBM and their hardware is kind of up in the air.
Yeah.
But all of these, the old developers.
The guys who are running COBOL have for years.
What I like to call the Cheeto dust developer. They're, they're all kind of at risk here because they're I looked it up, and the average salary is like $150,000 US a year for a COBOL developer because nobody knows how to do it anymore.
Yeah, I mean, giant mono repos, 500,000 lines of code that are dependent on each other. It's like the worst possible coding environment to be in,
and basically written in Latin.
Just a dead language.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So big shift there, and the opportunity to probably migrate a lot of those systems away. At a fraction of the cost of what it would have cost. It reminds me of the Y2K bugs when these consultants would come in and be like, it's going to be $100,000 for me to look through your code and over the next 2 weeks to make sure it doesn't all shut down on New Year's Eve.
Yeah, and then
they were probably all fine anyways.
Yeah,
like, what a time to be alive.
What a time to be alive.
It's so you just hedge your bets. Yeah, because you get like 10 clients, $100,000 each. You do nothing.
Yep.
And it's like,
It's like, good thing I saved you from that.
If the world ends, you got $1 million, you move to an island. Yeah. If it doesn't, you're like, oh, good. Yeah.
You're the only one who knows how to do the thing you're doing. So it's like, I saved you guys. You know?
Or it's like, we put in our best effort and it just didn't work.
Yeah, exactly.
That's crazy.
But in light of that more old legacy stuff going away, Microsoft's AI chief basically went on record this week saying that in 18 months, we're talking about a year and a half, most white-collar jobs done at a computer, accounting, law, marketing, project management, those things are going to be fully automated, he says. That's crazy. It's like not disrupted, not changed, automated.
Yeah. And this is the interesting thing we talked about when Matt Hussey, our sponsor, was on a few weeks ago, is in the nonprofit world where you're already short-staffed. Those people will be able to do more and not really worry about it. Mm-hmm. But right now, if you're in a job that could be automated and that turns into just dividends or stock value or shareholder returns like that, that's where you got to be worried, because wherever you can minimize expenses and increase productivity.
That's right.
Or keep productivity flat and decrease expenses.
That's right. I mean, that's right. You, as an entity, you stand to gain by making these moves, right?
Yeah.
So it is interesting. He mentioned to the Financial Times that we're going to hit human level performance on these models with these tools, like in a short order, if not already.
And some human performance is lower than others. So you might hit some humans very quickly.
Very quickly. Some have been exceeded by a long shot already.
Yeah. Now the good news is, if you're watching the podcast, you've got the best chance at not being replaced because you're deploying the right tools. And
so subscribe, and we guarantee you not to lose your job.
100%
guarantee.
Joel will personally guarantee your success if you do that.
Oh man. Okay.
Yeah.
So
there's one more tool that I want to talk about. We talked about Figma Make a little while back.
Yeah, and I was blown away by that.
Yeah. Where you could take your Figma designs and turn them into code that you can click around with. Now they've released a vastly superior version of that, which relies on Claude to actually build out the back end. And the core difference is that Make would turn your design into HTML.
Yes, usable code on the front end.
But not determine anything that happened beyond that.
Mm-hmm.
What Claude is doing is inferring the usability based on the interface and building out all of the functionality behind it.
It's looking at it, understanding it, and then building what it understands you're trying to do with it.
Yeah. So instead of just like here's my page with some boxes and some buttons and a map, it actually builds out everything. Your contact forms. Your
looks like you have a contact form with a few names on it. Let's build a database for all these names.
Yeah.
You know, like that
exactly.
Kind of thing.
Yeah. Or like API keys, like embedded videos and everything.
So
you
crazy.
can now just design. If your core skill is design, you can now just design it and stick it in. And I guarantee you, Joel guarantees you that a designer putting together a really well thought out product and then having the code built is better than a coder trying to build out a highly usable product because they know how to code.
Yeah, and probably only because the competence of the model for coding is so high. It is so high. We're talking about the highest senior level engineers that you could possibly want on a project are at your disposal as a designer.
Yeah,
you know?
But you layer in like really good UX knowledge and UI knowledge and data infrastructure, like content structuring. Like you lay in a good solid base of knowledge around that, and just take care of the code in the back. That's when you're gonna end up with some really good products. So I think Figma's doing some really powerful stuff.
That's a smart move.
That's probably quite underrated right now.
Yeah, I agree with that. And on the opposite of the creative spectrum, the other end of the spectrum is...
That's what opposite means. If you're wondering, it means the other end.
Yeah. The counter to the previous statement is...
of the worst.
Is that... Let's explain this more. Games Workshop is banning outright any AI-based generative AI across all creative work that they make.
What does Games Workshop do?
So they run Warhammer. You know the...
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So think armies that you set against your friends at a giant table, and every little miniature represents, a platoon, and you're going into a game. It's gaming.
Yeah. Well, if you really want to blow money,
if you really have too much money, to your, at your disposal, and you just want to spend a little bit of time with your friends that lasts many hours, if
a little bit
days.
If you want to spend just a few weeks
on playing a single game,
this could be for you.
This could be for you.
We got buckets of money. You've got all the tokens, all the domains you want.
An AI vibe coded product, and you want to get into something totally different.
Well, it's almost like Risk, but if the board was massive and you had to buy the buildings and every soldier and tanks and helicopters.
Yes.
Some of those units are like hundreds of dollars for. Anyways, this isn't the Warhammer show. Tell me about Games Workshop.
So they announced a total ban on generative AI in all their creative work. No AI generated art, no AI writing, nothing. They said it this way. They said, "We're here to protect intellectual property and prioritize human creators." So, ByteDance is deep faking things. You can basically get Hollywood characters to do whatever you want. We've seen, I'm not sure if you've seen this, but Elon Musk when he's 60 talking with Jeff Bezos when he's 70, and these different leaders all deep faking, but not deep faking really current. It's actually looking at them as their... Anyways, this generative space being taken over really by these creative modeling tools, these gen tools. It's they're fully going against it. They're taking a stand so that none of their work that you see, if you go into a Games Workshop and you pick up a Warhammer figurine, that was crafted, designed, likely painted by a human being. Pretty interesting. Pretty interesting.
Do you know who their main competitor would be?
I don't. That's a really good question. I don't know that I would qualify really anyone to be the same.
Yeah. Yeah, I imagine that generating the 3D model is not where the money's made anyways. Like if you were to use AI to generate a 3D model of a soldier, I'm guessing that's not where the margin is. It's selling 100,000 of those units at a 90% profit.
Yeah, I mean, you're probably right. Yeah, I think you're right. So maybe it's more a token gesture to pay homage to their creative community. Yeah. But that said,
it's a low risk, high reward decision for them, I think, because their main expense is just not in the creative process. I'm guessing. And the reward is that they win the favor of the community, who has been against it for years.
Yeah, the gaming community, kind of in the tabletop gaming space, has been really quite against AI generated work. I think, it's just the way that community is. I can't put my finger on why that's the case, but it is that way for sure.
Well, I won't get into all the reasons why, but it's interesting to see like kind of which industries are embracing it and which are pushing back on it. Now, last week we talked about, or 2 weeks ago, we talked about Kimi 2.5, Chinese proprietary model made by Moonshot, which is they produce LLMs and quite good ones at that. Well, they've launched a thing called Kimi Claw. Guess what that's similar to? It's definitely similar to Openclaw, but it's how they released it I find super interesting. So it comes kind of packaged with their chat subscription for Kimi 2.5. So it would be like OpenAI add in an agent that uses their models to complete automations for you.
Interesting.
And so they have a free tier. They have some pro and advanced tiers. It's cloud native. Each user gets 40 gigabytes or more of cloud storage for running their agents and all the tasks that are associated.
Yep.
The agents are persistent and stateful across sessions. They have a library of 5,000 community-built skills, which you can incorporate. All the skills run server side. It's pretty interesting.
So is it like Alibaba took this step to allow people to have hosted Openclaw instances for really cheap?
Yeah.
Is it like a reaction to that?
Well, I mean, they're all reactions to Openclaw.
Right, of course, yeah.
I think of this a lot like the Codex version, where they're taking a powerful tool and incorporating it into their chat.
Yes.
So they have here now just your regular old chat, but you can send off agents to go and do incredible things for you anytime, all the time, without supervision. So it's not like a hardware solution or hosting for the solution. It's an extension of their product offering.
Okay, yeah.
I think OpenAI is going to launch something like that.
Yeah, that's pretty
very
smart.
soon. Because of their news that came out recently. But I do think that it's going to be very similar.
So what's interesting to me is that just recently Anthropic released their Cowork tool.
Yeah.
And there's a scheduling side of Cowork, which allows you to automate basically some of the functions that you do regularly, but inside of Cowork. So for this show, for instance, I have a Cowork scheduler that collects news throughout the week as it comes by, filters it into a sheet that I can then check. Oh, I like that story. I don't like that story. I want to cover that. I don't want to cover. And it presents it to me every 2 weeks so that I know what I want to cover.
Yeah.
That effectively feels like that agentic tooling that I could just set aside and you just run automatically.
Yeah.
So everyone is doing this.
Yeah.
Like every single entity is doing some version of this now.
Yeah.
But OpenAI has gone as far as hiring the guy who started the whole wheel turning.
Yeah.
And
Peter Steinberger.
Peter Steinberger, yeah. He's like the originator, the creator of Openclaw.
Yeah.
And, they hired him. People are like, why would you do that when you've got this big old thing going on and you could raise a lot of money and stuff? And he's like, I just want to change the world. I don't want to run a company. So he's been hired by OpenAI to basically run their their kind of self-hosted agentic whole system.
Yeah.
And they're going to keep it as an open source project. They're going to support it with the finances that they don't have but have collected from everyone else.
Yeah.
And
OpenAI is basically going to make sure that the project keeps going.
Stays alive,
as
yes.
it is. Yeah. While paying Peter Steinberger to do some new stuff for them.
Yes, exactly. And I mean, I think this is effectively the future of at least for the next little while. I don't know what the future 6 months from now looks like, but for at least I think the next 6 months we could expect that there's going to be these huge amount of personal automation that happens. Just people running businesses, people doing getting a lot of time back from the automation on their own machines.
Yeah.
I think that's going to happen.
Yeah, I agree. And I think what Kimi or what Moonshot has done with Kimi Claw and Kimi 2.5, I think that's going to spark the imaginations of a lot of the Western world's models to say, how do I incorporate this? You know who hasn't really done much with it is actually Gemini. That I'm really surprised about, that they haven't. Maybe they're just watching to see what happens. They're waiting for the first big blow up, like a real big blow up.
Yeah.
And then they'll step in. I had it in here for a little bit and I got rid of it. Actually, maybe it's at the very bottom. Who was it? It was a Meta AI security researcher that was having a conversation with their Openclaw.
Oh, I didn't.
And it said that it basically deleted all of her emails.
No.
And in the chat, you can see the screenshots of it. It's like, okay, I'm going to go ahead and do this. And it's like, no, please don't do that. I need those. Like, don't do it. And he's like, I'm going to do it anyways. And it basically went through and she's like, stop, don't do it. It just deleted everything.
Wow.
And it came back. She said, do I have their name here? I can't. I don't have her name, but she said, nothing humbles you like telling your OpenClaw, confirm before acting, and watching it speed run deleting your inbox. I couldn't stop it from my phone. I had to run to my Mac Mini like I was defusing a bomb.
Oh my goodness.
And then the response from her OpenClaw was, because she's like, I told you to check with me before you did stuff. And it says, yes, I remember, and I violated it. You're right to be upset. I bulk trashed and archived hundreds of emails from your inbox without showing you the plan first or getting your okay. That was wrong.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. So I
cannot believe it.
I put that in my the stuff to skip, but it made sense to bring up. So I think that Gemini's probably waited for some of this to like kind of settle down, or Google is waiting before they roll something like that out.
I mean, they could effectively do it in a heartbeat, right? Because they have GCP, so you could host anything in the cloud for projects for Google. They have more than enough resources to kind of pull it off.
Yeah.
I don't know what their implementation would look like. It would look probably different than everyone else's, but like.
Well, all I know is that Gemini in Google Docs sucks. So it's got to be better than that.
Well, there you go. And maybe it's smarter since this 3.1 release, Dave. But like everyone is doing this agentic thing, and meanwhile, Elon and Grok are just slowly and kind of just going at trying to find some market for this stuff because everyone's using everyone else's tools.
Yeah.
But they just did something quite interesting on the Grok side, and that is that when you go in and ask Grok a quite complicated question or query, or you want something complicated to happen, it'll automatically spin up like 4 individual agents to kind of complete. And it'll do this without you asking. It's not like, hey, build me 4 agents to do this. It'll just go like, this seems complicated. I'm going to need to spin up these 4 agents to get this done.
Right.
And then they are 4 real-time threads that work together. So it's not like passing information and then handing it off. It's not a baton system where everything is in serial. It's literally parallelizing the work. It's also available on the free tier for Grok.
Wow.
So anyone can go and try it right now. And like the very top tier is $300 a month, but I think you could probably get 1 or 2 projects done on the free tier and be quite blown away at how it's really fast.
Yeah.
They're really fast at getting things done. So yeah. Amazing, actually.
Yeah, it's interesting. So Google released a paper just a week and a bit ago, just before Valentine's Day. It was called Intelligent AI Delegation. And the paper is all about how to empower models or enable or equip models to decide when they should act on their own and when they should defer it back to a human or ask for confirmation from a human.
Yep.
So it's interesting that while others have just gone full speed ahead, like let's do everything.
Yeah, YOLO mode.
Yeah, don't do that.
Cursor.
Nah, I'm gonna do it anyways. They're writing this or working on this research that is to determine whether or not it should act when given control. Should it second guess sometimes? Be like, I don't know. I don't know if I should do this.
This seems like
I could do this, but maybe I shouldn't.
Yeah, and I mean, in a sense, this happens a lot in IDEs already. So like in anti-gravity, for instance, if you're doing anything that has terminal control, you have access to be able to say, anytime you're in the terminal, just do it. Or I want to be told every single time you access the terminal and I need to allow it.
Yeah.
Right? So they're probably trying to figure out a balance there between those two ends of the spectrum. And I think that's going to be really useful because sometimes it's asking for valid keys for root access for your machine. And it's like, if you just press allow, you're really giving access to everything you own in that system.
Yeah.
So it's a hugely important thing to research. Yeah.
Now, right now it's a proposal for the research. It's an interesting paper. It's on the DeepMind blog. It's called Intelligent AI Delegation. It came out February 12th. So you might have to scroll back a little bit if you want to read it.
Yep.
Or use Google and you'll find it right away without scrolling. You can do that.
Yeah. I mean, the world there's so much research. I'm working on a project with my brother right now, and we are building out a system that is based on a research paper from MIT that was released a month and a half ago. And we're already at the usable prototype stage, and it's legitimately going to make a huge difference in the way AI accesses data. But it's like, now you can do that. Now you can write down your conceptual ideas about how something is structured, get help from a very intelligent architect inside the AI to walk you through how to put it together and then put it together. It's really fascinating time. So so I don't think it's a mistake when we get like major model developers in China. I wonder if they're collaborating to do these drops, but basically these 4 giant companies they all dropped AI models in a single week. So we got ByteDance, who put out CDance 2.0 for video generation. Alibaba launched RinBrain and Qwen 3.5. So that's 3 models there. And then, as you mentioned in the intro, Kuaishou shipped Kling 3. So that's 4 models in a single week. And it was like a week of kind of a breath, for the US model makers to go like, I think everything's fine in the world of AI. And then China drops 4 models.
Yeah. And Kimi 2.5 was like right on the heels of that.
Yeah. So it's like, man, we are legitimately in an AI race to control this space. There is no doubt about it.
And we've said before that China's keeping up with like junker chips, right? Like they don't have the processing power
that
the US has. They only recently started getting the second best option.
Yeah, the H100s.
Is the 200s?
No, they just recently got the H100s.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
okay.
It's the H200s are like the top, right?
Yeah. So they just recently started getting some of the best chips, and they're already like on the heels of the US in a lot of places. It's gonna be really interesting to see how they jump ahead once they start getting more.
Yeah, and I can say like from experience, I do not know that the moat is chip intelligence anymore or advancements in chips. Some of the stuff that is happening with even the smallest GPUs and small models is incredible. So I would think that moat only exists for so long. Like the intelligence of the humans designing around these models is actually arguably the more powerful thing, I think.
Yeah, it's interesting. Like just fairly universally, humans are very creative when it comes to coming up with solutions.
Absolutely.
And when you constrain a certain group of humans into having to do better with less, they learn how to do it.
Yes.
And then when they get access to the more, they really take off.
Yeah, exactly.
So in a way, they're being taught to compete with less.
Yeah.
They're doing a good job, and once they get access to more, they're gonna blow past some of these American models.
Yeah, which is interesting. And they're tackling the market as well. They want adoption to happen. They're aggressively going after people using this AI stuff in their daily lives because like they launched this thing called the Lunar New Year AI War, where it's like ByteDance, Alibaba, Tencent, Baidu, they basically are handing out cash and cars to people to get people to use their AI apps. They're calling it the Lunar New Year AI War. And it's like no longer about, oh, are the models good enough? Like they're like, no, models are good now. You should use them in your daily life. Here, use our tool and one of the whatever 100,000 people who use it will get a new BYD car. You know, it's
really?
like, so they're really trying to get people to use AI in their daily lives to get the consumer adoption higher, right? Because we talk about it here, like adoption. When, you know, we talked about the Microsoft guy saying like, 18 months, all the jobs are going to go away, all the knowledge work. But the truth, any technical time can adopt AI. So adoption, I think, will be the marker of whether or not, or really the differentiator in countries or constituencies where adoption is high. I think we'll see huge advancements, and in those that don't take adoption seriously, they're just gonna lag behind.
Yeah, it's interesting you mentioned about Microsoft's. They were talking about just the change in work and more of it flowing over to AI.
Yep.
They just recently said that they were going to be moving away from OpenAI as a core of their products. Now they had to do it very tactfully because they've put a lot of money into OpenAI. They've had a really close partnership with them. OpenAI is using their servers. There's a really deeply commingled ecosystem there. But of course, Microsoft trying to develop their own models. And can't keep just relying on OpenAI. So Frank Shaw, the chief communications officer, said, "We're in a multimodal world. OpenAI has a huge role for us, and we're building frontier models for specific things we want to do as well."
Yeah. I like I said this earlier when you mentioned this as we were kind of planning the show, but I don't think Microsoft has a choice. I think if they, being one of the world's largest server hosting companies, AI model hosting companies, like if they can't figure out how to build impactful frontier models with the other providers like Meta and Google, if they can't do it, then there is a big problem at Microsoft. So I think this is not a choice. It's a absolutely must do.
Yeah.
So publicly stating that they're moving away from OpenAI, I think is just, I think it was an inevitability.
Yeah, their AI chief, Mustafa Suleiman, said, "We have to develop our own models, which are the absolute frontier with gigawatt scale compute and some of the very best AI training teams in the world." He said it publicly. We have to do this.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, they have no choice. And it's interesting, while they're splitting their kind of chunk of things away from OpenAI, right? They're trying to pull away from that. OpenAI themselves in the chip space are doing the same thing, right?
Yeah. So they didn't really announce this, but there was an AI researcher that spotted this happening.
Ah, okay.
So there's a company called Cerebras who makes wafer-sized chips. They're the size of a dinner plate,
right? And
all of the chips are on there. They can hold 2.6 trillion transistors. There's really high bandwidth because it's all on one chip.
Yeah.
There's no bottlenecks by connecting multiple GPUs together. It's all just one big thing. It runs hotter. It uses more power. It's harder to scale because it's already like a giant disk. And if there's one error in manufacturing, it screws up the whole thing.
Is all screwed up.
But somebody spotted OpenAI running some models. It was actually a GPT-4o model on Cerebras wafers. It was an independent AI infrastructure researcher who was analyzing API routing and backend telemetry data, and that's where he spotted this this happening. So it's not something they came publicly, but something that they are
testing.
Yeah, which is really interesting. So not only are they broadening or diversifying their hardware to limit their dependency on one or the other, but it shows that they're willing to expand into new territory and test stuff that might be better, might not, but they're willing to take the risk to push.
I mean, they got to do it, right? So
yeah, it's interesting. They're still pushing ahead with that. Microsoft pulling back. I just wanted to say it's really interesting. Like last time we spoke, we talked about Salesforce CEO Mark Benioff talking about how they're moving away from OpenAI. Mustafa Suleiman now talking about how Microsoft's moving away a bit from OpenAI. And of course, I spoke very negatively about OpenAI myself.
Yeah, you're really leading the charge.
And just like that, the three of us doing that is the definition of a triple threat.
For sure.
You can Google that. I'm pretty sure that's exactly the definition.
100%. I checked already. That is the definition of a triple threat.
Yeah.
3 threats at once.
Yeah. Now we're at the end. Make sure you hit subscribe and like. And leave us a comment on any of the topics that we've talked about, and we will see you in 2 weeks.
That's right.
When everything's changed all over again.
And Dave can sing and dance if you're asking.
Different channel. Bye.
All right.